Welcome back to the Everyday Saint with Eve Rosemary. 1 month ago, I pilgrimaged to Our Lady Medjugorje, which is a somewhat controversial Marian apparition site, and controversial in the fact that it is not an approved Marian apparition site. This happened in 1981, and the apparitions are still ongoing. So the Vatican cannot make a clarified decision as to if they can approve these Marian apparitions because they are still ongoing. This episode is not to make any stance on the approval process, on evidence of Our Lady of Medjugorje. It is simply to share my pilgrimage experience in going. So we just went to Mass, just received the Eucharist, asked the Lord to help guide me in this conversation as I talk about his mom, and I'm so excited to share with you just some reflections that I've had after going on this pilgrimage. But before we get too far into it, I do also want to remind you that I'm booking chastity presentations for the 2026 to 2027 school year. So if you know of any youth groups, retreats, schools, conferences, the works that are in need of a chastity speaker, I'd love to be put in touch with them, so the link to inquire is in the description below. So, with all that set aside, we should start from the very beginning as to what is Our Lady of Medjugorje. So this is, again, a Marian apparition site. So Our Lady appeared to 6 children in 1981 in Bosnia and, hold on, I have to look up the pronunciation, how to say this, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think I said that just about right, which might sound actually kind of familiar to you because if you've been watching the World Cup, the USA played this team and won. So, as they say, God bless our troops, God bless America, and gentlemen, start your engines. Anywho, God bless the USA. Anywho, all jokes aside, this is where the Marian apparition happened, was in this country, and so I happened to be going to Austria and Croatia, and then wanted to, really with the heart of wanting to go to Our Lady of Medjugorje. I first heard about Our Lady of Medjugorje when I was a sophomore in college at Benedictine. I was studying abroad in Florence, and the week that we were in Rome, I was at St. Mary Major Basilica. I was standing there in this blue dress, and this lady came up to me, this older lady, seemed very sweet. I have no idea what she said. She didn't speak English, but she handed me a card of Our Lady of Medjugorje, and I'd never heard of her before. I also have no idea what this woman was saying to me. She just kept pointing to me and pointing to Our Lady on the prayer card, and I said, okay, I'll take it. Sounds good. So I have no idea what the story is behind that prayer card. But that was the first time I heard about Our Lady of Medjugorje. And then about a year later, I actually read the book My Heart Will Triumph, which is written by one of the visionaries at Our Lady of Medjugorje. And that's, I think, really where my curiosity started about Our Lady of Medjugorje, because I read this book, and Our Lady of Medjugorje is known as the Queen of Peace. That's her title at Our Lady of Medjugorje, which totally makes sense considering the very heavy politically charged climate that is in this area, right? Like, it's a very anti-religious area at the time. It was very difficult for these visionaries to even get the message of Our Lady of Medjugorje out there. And that's really what I was so impressed by in this visionary story. I learned that they were teenagers when this happened, right? They were just children experiencing these miracles and seeing Our Lady. Wild, first of all. I can't imagine. Actually, when I was little, I used to pray and ask Our Lady to come and appear to me. She never did, but I'm still young. We still have hope. It's one of those prayers that, like, you know, you have like silly desires for God. Not that a Marian apparition is a silly desire, but if that ever did happen, that would be so cool. That would be so freaking cool. But nonetheless, I read this book and I was really impressed by the courage of these visionaries, because they would literally get taken out of school and questioned by the police, questioned by the government. So it wasn't even like a church thing. They were causing such a response by the government and by the people towards a religious movement that the government stepped in to stop this. So I find that really fascinating, and it's something that I've also found fascinating in stories like St. John Paul II, for example, who grew up in communist Poland, and literally had to go to an underground seminary, risking his life so that he could become a priest. Like, those stories are so interesting to me, and that's something that you definitely see at Our Lady of Medjugorje, is that her call is a call of peace, a call to return to the rosary, which is very traditional when it comes to Our Lady. She's often asking us to pray the rosary, but specifically she asks us to pray for the conversion of who she says, those who do not yet know God. So she doesn't necessarily say for sinners or for people who don't believe. I think she even discourages us to call them unbelievers because it's really a message in those who do not yet know the love of God, which I also really love that. It's a very gracious way of looking at those who simply don't know the love of the Lord yet, and that we're called to go after them, to pray for them, to pray for the conversion of these people. So that's a lot of the messages that I was learning and really inspired by in this. I remember I actually made like a whole budget at the time, this like junior year of college eve, being like, I want to learn more about Our Lady Medjugorje, feeling a deep invitation to go, which is really interesting as I go through this story. And so that was kind of, put on the back burner. I was in college. There was just no way that I had the finances to be able to do this. An opportunity opened up where Franciscan University invited me to come to their Austria summer experience, which is an incredible opportunity, which I'm going to link also in the description below, because I was invited to come kind of last minute to help promote this experience, which I loved because it's so rooted in prayer, it's so rooted in virtue and getting to know people and multi-generational friendships and all these things. And then after that, I was thinking, well, I'm already in Europe, I might as well, where should I go? And I was reminded of this devotion to want to go to Our Lady Medjugorje. And so that's where I made my plans to go on this pilgrimage a month before going, essentially. And every step of the way, I still was feeling this very deep calling to go. I was talking with people, and Our Lady Medjugorje was getting brought up. Every time I thought about going, I had this somewhat emotional response to going. There's a reason that God wants me to go on this pilgrimage. I feel invited, genuinely invited by the Lord to go on this pilgrimage. And I haven't had very many experiences where I felt that specific of a calling to go. And so I went. So I went feeling this deep invite to go, and the actual pilgrimage experience was completely different than I thought it was going to be. And I guess to paint the picture, I don't want to complain, but we have to be honest, right? So to paint the picture for you, in order to get there, I was traveling from Dubrovnik, which is kind of the means by which you get there. I don't even know if there's an airport in Bosnia. You have to get to Croatia or a nearby area to get there. And so I took a bus from Dubrovnik to Medjugorje. It should have been about a 4-hour bus trip, which is kind of long, but it ended up being at least 5 hours. Customs took a while to get through. And then you're going through the mountainside. It's very I was basically about to get car sick. Let's just put it that way. It was a lot of twists and turns. It was not a comfortable bus trip. I was really tired, was not having a good time. And so we finally get there after it took way longer than it should have. And we get there. It's 10:30 at night. My check-in time closes at 11, so I have 30 minutes to figure out where I'm going to. I can't find any taxis, but it's only a 20-minute walk, which should be fine. So I started on this walk, and it's all of a sudden taking me on dirt roads that have no lights. I don't know where I am. It was just one of those travel days where you are on the verge of tears. You are about to cry. And there's nothing you can do about it. Everything is going wrong. That's what it is. Just everything is going wrong. And so eventually I find a hotel. I ask them to call me a taxi because I don't know what else to do. I'm at my wit's end. They call me a taxi. I get there. They can't go all the way in. And so I have to then still lug my luggage through gravel for a little while. Again, on the verge of tears. I get there at maybe 10:58, just barely making it in time to check in. I check in. I decide to sleep in a little bit because by the time I went to bed, it's midnight. And I want to have a well-rested, peaceful day at this apparition site, right? I'm a very picturesque person. You know how people say you're usually drawn to one of the three transcendentals, Thomas Aquinas has these transcendentals of truth, beauty, goodness. I'm very much drawn to beauty. I love the aesthetic day. I love the picturesque day. I'm looking forward to this pilgrimage. So I get some good sleep. My first thing on the docket that morning, there's a mass at 10 a.m., an English-speaking mass at 10 a.m. Perfect. And so I wake up the next morning, still feeling a little tired, not feeling the best. Honestly, if you followed along too, I have some health stuff. I was having a really bad fatigue day in general. So I was already like a little disappointed by the day because I knew that I wasn't going to have the energy I was really hoping to have. Just kind of, feeling a little out of it. And so I start making my way towards this mass. And I've been to 2 Marian apparitions before. Okay, this is my 3rd Marian apparition I've been to. I've been to Our Lady of Champion in Wisconsin, of course. I will always champion Our Lady of Champion. And I've been to Our Lady of Lourdes in Lourdes, France. And at both of these places, the apparition site and the church are one and the same. They are at the same location. That is not the case here. So maybe this is your pro tip number 1, is that you should probably do a little bit more research before going. And I wish I would, in hindsight, this is a whole trip of in hindsight. I wish I would have, 1, refreshed myself on the story of Our Lady of Medjugorje, because it has been 2 or 3 years since I read that book. And I was like, you know what? I kind of know what the story is. I'll be fine. No, I should have reread. And I kind of went into it with the mentality of like, I just want to experience. I don't want to like know what other people's thoughts are. I don't want to know what their experiences were. I just want to go in very fresh, be able to just experience it. I don't think that would be my recommendation when you're going on a pilgrimage. Really do your research ahead of time. And I did not do that. So I start walking and realize very quickly I have no idea where I'm going. I have no clue. Because now I'm seeing signs for a church and for Apparition Hill going in opposite directions. And I go, well, crap. I don't know what to do. And so I end up figuring out that you're supposed to go to the church. The church is just the parish church in the area, right? Because it's such a recent apparition site and the apparitions are still ongoing, the town itself has kind of started to, I think, catch up with the just amount of tourists that are coming, but nonetheless, like it hasn't been that long. So the church there is not a special church built because there's been an apparition site here. The church there is just the local church, and it's a sacramental life. So it's not really close to where the apparition site is. And that's important to know because I will tell you, I got 25,000 steps in both days that I was at Our Lady of Medjugorje. That's how much you're walking. Not only that, but I went in the beginning of June when it is 80 to 90 degrees out. There is no shade. You're just walking on dirt paths. And I'm keeping this in mind. Again, not to complain, but just to paint the picture for you that I am 1, tired, 2, lost, 3, sweating profusely. I finally make it to Mass. Barely make it on time because I didn't realize how far away this place was. Because, the church and the apparition site are probably about a 30-minute walk away from each other. And then add in, like, where I'm staying is in a totally different location as well. And there's no driving anywhere. You're walking everywhere. I made it to Mass dripping sweat. Absolutely dripping sweat. And just feeling very confused and conflicted. And I sit down for Mass, and to be honest with you all, the church there is nothing, like, to write home about. It's just this, like, bright yellow church. The yellow is really cute, actually. I love the yellow church. It's a very happy color. But there's no art. There's not really even, like, a crucifix in the church. Again, just to paint the picture of what this looks like. So it's kind of like you get there, and I was just kind of like, oh. Like, that's it? Like, like, this is where an apparition site is? And, like, that's it? But, again, it makes sense because it's just the parish church. There's not a lot of statues. Absolutely no art except for some, like, stained glass windows way high up. Just a bright yellow church. And so I go through Mass. Mass is great. It's a jam-packed Mass, which is always awesome to see. And then after that, I figure I'll walk around kind of the church area. And so I find my way to the Adoration Chapel. I sit down in the Adoration Chapel. I write 2 lines down in my journal, and all of a sudden another Mass is starting. And so now it's like, oh, okay, so it's just, like, another thing not quite going right. Like, I wanted to sit there and reflect and, like, kind of get my bearings straight from the morning, and now it's like, oh, I can't focus. I'm someone who cannot focus when other things are going on. Like, I definitely need silence. So I was like, well, this isn't going to work. And so then I get up, and I figure out where to next, and the only other places are just outside places. Like, even I can't go back to the other church, like the main church, because there's another Mass going on there too, and I don't want to sit outside because it is so hot out, and I'm still just sweating. I still haven't cooled down from my walk to Mass in the first place. And so, I start walking around. They do have some really beautiful murals of the luminous mysteries. So I prayed with that for a little bit. It felt a little bit better about the experience after that. But again, was just feeling really tired. And keep in mind, at this point, I have not even been to the Apparition Site yet because it is so hot. And to actually, it's called Apparition Hill for a reason. They tell you to bring good walking shoes and remind you that there is no shade on that hill that you are climbing, and it is steep. There's really not a good path. It's all very rocky. And so I'm like, I can't climb that on at 2 p.m. with the sun beating down like this. Like, it is just not going to be good. So I have to wait until the sun is setting or rising to actually make the trek up Apparition Hill. And so I realized I can't do that day because they have a healing service that's only offered on Mondays. It's a Monday at this point. If I don't go to that healing service that evening, which would be a time that, because of the evening being a little bit cooler, would be a time that I could climb Apparition Hill. Like, I have to go to that healing service that day because they only offer it that day. So, I make it back to the church, kind of walk around. I go to confession. That's all well and good. Still just really honestly, that entire day I was asking myself, God, why did you invite me on this? Like, I feel lost. I feel disconnected. I don't feel like this is going well. I don't know why you invited me. I don't get it. Honestly, I was looking up bus tickets to leave sooner. Just because I was so I'm not having a good time. I'm not enjoying this. I don't know, Lord, why you invited me, which is really interesting because as we go back in this story, right, thinking back to before that, I felt so deeply invited by God to go. And so I didn't understand why nothing was going well. And why I felt so terrible, honestly, being there. And the kind of the rest of the evening, I felt a little bit better after going to confession, and once it cooled down and I had a nap, that helped a ton. Went to the healing service. Healing service was not in English. I don't know what was happening. I think we prayed the rosary. That's all I really know. And my intention for this pilgrimage was I asked God just for deeper intimacy with him. It's I don't know what that looks like, Lord, but my hope for this pilgrimage is that I just desire deeper intimacy with you, whatever that looks like. And so, yeah, nothing else is to note about that first day other than I was just feeling really disappointed and very lost and honestly somewhat abandoned by God. And the day comes to a close. As I make it to the end of the day, I was maybe I'm feeling so out of this because I literally at this point I've effectively seen the parish church. I've effectively just been to another church. I really haven't been to the Apparition Site. So maybe that's why I'm feeling so off about this. And so I get up the next morning, very a little bit earlier so that I can climb the Apparition Hill before it gets too hot out. I climb the hill. It just keeps getting more Eve, what was going on here? I went the wrong way. I don't know what path I followed up Apparition Hill, but I didn't follow the main path. I went the wrong way. I made it to the top. I made it to the hill, but there's a statue up there and it's front facing, right? So when you walk up, you're supposed to see Our Lady's face on the statue. I saw the back of her head. I came up on the wrong side. Don't know how that happened. I swear I followed the signs. I looked back on the signs and it is kind of confusing. In my defense. And nonetheless, I make it up there. I pray a rosary. Honestly, that morning was really good. That was a really good moment in prayer. And now that I've walked away from that, that's honestly that was the experience, was walking up the hill and just being able to pray there. It was very peaceful. It was really neat to just see how many pilgrims were there. I got there so early that when I found out what the right path was and walked back down that path, there was just groups and groups and groups of people coming up and pilgrimaging up. And it's just neat to think about how many people are bringing different intentions to the Lord, what they're thinking about, what they're hoping for. So yeah, it was neat to be up on Apparition Hill. And I did go with the intention of deeper intimacy with God and had no idea what that would look like. And I think some of the messages that the Lord was trying to teach me was, one, not everything has to be that aesthetic. Not everything has to be picturesque for him to work, for him to speak. In fact, I was an absolute mess. I was grumpy. I was sweaty. I was tired. I wanted to go home. I wanted nothing more than to leave. And yet the Lord works in that. And I think I've seen the graces from this pilgrimage experience after the pilgrimage. Like, I didn't recognize that necessarily on the pilgrimage, but definitely have seen the Lord work afterwards, which is really, really interesting to me, because not that I am one to like hear the voice of God, but I think I've started to pick up more and more as my faith has grown on the ways that the Lord speaks to me, and it's definitely in the details. A lot of times in the beautiful moments, in the moments where I can like set time aside for God. And the truth is that even though this pilgrimage did not go how I was hoping it was going to go, that no time with God is ever wasted. Like, I don't regret going on this pilgrimage, even though I didn't have a good experience, because no time with the Lord is ever wasted. And I don't say these things of like, oh, you know what, I just have to look on the bright side just because we're Catholic and that's what we do. Like, that's not at all, I think, what gratitude is. It's recognizing, like, no, there definitely was some wrong here. There was definitely some disappointment here. And it's okay to say that. But it's also okay to be like, wait, God, what should I have actually been open to? And I think the Lord was like very intentionally telling me, like, Eve, life's a mess sometimes. Life doesn't go well. And those are actually moments of like, God is still there. Like, even when you go to the holy hour and you can't focus for anything, God is still there. Even when you go to Mass and you walk out and you realize, wow, I don't even know what the gospel was, God is still there. The Lord was teaching me so much, and that deeper intimacy with God, again, I want to talk specifically about that now, just because that has been foundational now for my life a month later. It was fascinating to me. At Our Lady Medjugorje, of course, they have all the souvenir shops. I was so pumped for these souvenir shops. Okay, I am a Catholic court, it's fine, it's right. We keep bringing up beauty. I love a Catholic gift shop. Best Catholic gift shop in the USA is at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. I'm just going to shout that out. They have 2 in one building, 2 gift shops, just in case anyone was curious. But I was excited. I was ready to get gifts for friends and family. I just had Shelby, my friend Shelby just got married, and I was going to get her maybe a wedding gift at Our Lady Medjugorje. These souvenir shops were not it. I didn't find anything that I liked. I found actually one single thing that I liked, and it was a statue of St. Joseph. Okay, nothing to do with Our Lady, but like relatively speaking, when you go to Marian apparition, you'd think you'd pick up something more Marian, and I picked up her husband instead. So I just say that because if you have also listened to my story, or if you know me well, and I need to flesh out this story for you a little bit more. I've had a rocky relationship with St. Joseph, actually. I looked to him very much so in a relationship I was in, a long-term serious relationship that I thought was going to end completely differently than how it did end. St. Joseph was like a patron for that relationship. I turned to St. Joseph. I believed so intentionally that this relationship was going to end up, like we were going to end up together because of St. Joseph. Like, that's how formational he was in this relationship. And so when this relationship ended very suddenly, I was like, St. Joseph, what the heck? We got beef. We have beef because you abandoned me in this, and now I feel abandoned by the Lord in my vocation. And so as I was on this pilgrimage, and all of a sudden I see the statue of St. Joseph, and it's literally the only thing that I like, I bought it. It was like €7. Okay, like, that's a good price for a statue, first of all. Second of all, I was like, this is just really interesting that that's what I was drawn to. Like, it wasn't an intentional thought of like, oh, I need to get this because it's symbolic of whatever and I need to repair this relationship. Like, I was just like, I'm really drawn to this statue and I don't know why. And so I bought it, and that acted as a catalyst for me realizing how much I've held God at arm's length when it does come to a vocation. Like, it's sometimes really difficult when you go through times of heartbreak or disappointment when it comes to your vocation and relationships to not look to God and realize like, okay, yeah, those moments of suffering, those moments of difficulty have always brought me closer to God. So then, therefore, sometimes it's easy to fall into the thought like, okay, if breakups bring me closer to God, is he just going to keep leading me to breakups because it brings me closer to him? Oof, like that sucks to think that the Lord is only permitting these heartbreaks simply because he wants that time with you. And yes, it's true that the Lord does want that time with you, but his heart breaks when our heart breaks. He's not just going to keep leading us to relationships and then abandoning us. That I realized how abandoned I felt by God in my vocation, how confused I felt by him, because when I was going through these breakups, it wasn't even a matter of like being disappointed by the breakups. It was, wow, do I even know how to listen to God's voice anymore? Do I know what the voice of God sounds like? Because I thought he was telling me that this relationship was supposed to end in marriage and it didn't. And that's tough. That is tough to grapple with. And so then all this time later, coming on this pilgrimage, not like I had no intention of talking to God about my vocation. In fact, I realized that before that pilgrimage, God was kind of bringing up those topics of vocation in my heart, and I was ignoring them. I was telling him that I didn't want to talk. Like, actually, actively, I was telling God that I didn't want to talk to him about it because I was so like, I don't know what to make of this right now, and I don't really feel like boy crazy. I don't feel the need to be really pursuing a lot of relationships at the moment. Like, if it happens, great. If not, that's fine too. And even in like various situations I've been in within the last year, this is weird that this has happened, but it's happened multiple times that the guy that I've been interested in ends up then deserting the seminary, like very legitimately. It's happened more than once. I guess I have a type and it's the same one that God likes too. So and all jokes aside though, like that was actually really, I realized in hindsight, very detrimental to my faith life because I felt like I was just collateral damage in these men's vocational discernment journeys. Like, if their vocation isn't with me, that's okay. But I was actually realizing how upset at God I was that I was put in the middle of this vocational journey. Like, why did my heart have to break for these guys to find their vocations? And I bring that up because it's not just a message for me, it's a message for you as well. That the Lord permits these sufferings, but he wants us to actually be open with him to the point that we can heal them. That when I was like thinking through this vocation, it wasn't just a message about my vocation. It was actually a message about that deeper intimacy with God, that I was holding him at arm's length because I didn't actually trust him. That I was saying with my mouth, like, Jesus, I trust in you, but my heart was not following suit. That I wasn't willing to be as open with God as I should be to actually experience healing. That I was suppressing rather than healing. And that's an important thing to realize in our prayer life. When we bring things to God, are we bringing them in a spirit of trust or in a spirit of like, I'm telling this to you, but I'm still going to grasp onto it? That I'm not actually going to allow you to work in this because I'm scared of what you're going to do. That I'm scared that you're going to call me to something that's uncomfortable, something that I don't see fitting in my plan. I want to take a moment and reflect on the agony in the garden, because this is a moment of suffering for Jesus, right? That Jesus is about to be like arrested and then therefore crucified. And in that moment where Jesus realizes what is about to happen, what does he do? Right? In that moment of stress, in a moment of needing to trust in the Lord, what does he do? He goes in solitude and silence and he prays. That's important for us to realize too, that Jesus doesn't reach for something, community, busyness, food, entertainment to distract him from what's about to happen, but he wants to actually face that with God, with the Father, right? So he goes and he prays and he says, like, basically, if this cup could pass from me, please let it. But if not, if not, your will be done, Lord. That's what we are to say too. To go before God and not with any plan, not with any like to-do list, but to say, Lord, thy will be done. That's the purpose of prayer. Not just to present these things, but to actually align our will with the will of God. And I really wasn't doing that, right? I was instead saying, like, God, I want to trust you with this, but I don't, because it hasn't gone well for me. And I'm worried that because I've seen you work in bad moments, and right, trust has to be practiced in bad moments. That's how we know that we actually do trust. That's how we know that we love, is that we actually turn to God in moments of despair. Oftentimes, like, obviously we love God outside of that, but you just realize how much more you need God when you're suffering. And because of that, I was like, God, like, am I just going to suffer because you want me closer to you? And, oh, man, I don't even know where to go with that reflection, because I know that speaks to the heart of so many people and so many situations. The Lord loves us. The Lord cares for us and for our mission more than we ever could. More than we ever could. So yes, moments of suffering lead us closer to Him. But more importantly, our entire life is an offering to Him in the first place. And He doesn't just work in the suffering. He works very much in the joys. Like, we're even more joyful. We are Easter people, right? Like, Jesus didn't just die on the cross and leave it there. I think that Jesus and Mary were the most joyful, fun people to be around. I'm confident in that because they knew the joy and the abundance that God brings. Like, right, life and life in abundance. So yes, there is hurt here. Yes, there are wounds here. But I know the Lord is providential. I know the Lord has a plan and a purpose for it. I know that, yes, God is going to, like, I'm going to draw near to God in suffering. But this is an invitation from God. This is not a condemnation. This is just simply an observation of where my heart has been at, so that the Lord can actually enter into that and heal it, right? Like, that's where the joy comes from. It comes from the healing. It comes from being open and honest and vulnerable with God so that He can heal our hearts. Not just so that we suffer and suppress and just be grateful just for the sake of doing that, but truly so that the Lord can work. So, in the end, I mean, this pilgrimage, again, I don't know what to make of it. Practically speaking, right, if you ever go, wear light layers. Know you're going to sweat a lot. Know you're going to walk a lot. Go to the Apparition Site, the very first thing that you do, and early in the morning, okay? Like, practically speaking, do those things. Research ahead of time. But also, know that when you are simply open, the Lord, like, that is where He's going to work the most, recognizing our littleness and that He is always in control. So, thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.